The EPC and other direct blowback 9mm are nice guns, but if you have something like a CMG radio delayed blowback in there, it'd be nice to have. In this video, I hope that you were able to build one from that. This video is based on MorningStarCornDog's original design, which I've used and streamlined and made it a little more user-friendly for the common person. So in this video, we are going to make and integrate an EPC 9 with the RDB blowback system and bolt from CMMG. We are then going to be firing with Blazer 115 grain ammunition, 9mm. Also with 147 Remington UMC. The third thing we'll be firing with is Ruach 124, or might be Norma. So, hope this video is useful. Hope you learned something, and hopefully, if you do make one of these, please leave your note in a comment. Thank you. Alright, so this is going to be the first firing. This is Glock OEM. This is Norma 124 in the RDB upper. Let's see how it goes. See the ejection angle. This is the heavy buffer. Might need something a little stronger on it. Let's see if I'm shooting southpaw. That's what I am. Pretty close to my face. Not quite on it, sorry. Shoot it closer. Alright, seems to cycle okay though. Alright YouTube, this is a quick walkthrough, and then I'll go into each section in detail how to do the CMMG RDB into your EPC. First thing you're going to do is install the barrel, and it's going to be, remember the barrel and the bolt has to go together. It's not, you can't use any blowback one in there. The second thing you're going to do is remove the bolt catch right here. This is on the upper on this one. You want it to be removed so you deal with the other things. If you follow this order, it's the best way, because then you start figuring out problems as you're going, and you can modify stuff to fit as you get going along. Because the first thing you do is move this out, and you're going to adjust that. This is one of the last things you're going to put back in. The second thing you're going to do is the cam pin cutout is going to be like this. You're going to cut it out right there. I'll go into that in detail a little bit. After that, you're going to remove the mag travel stop, which is this right here. This has already been removed and modified though. So you just remove it in that. Next thing you're going to do is you're going to shave the mag catch right here. So what ends up happening is this has to sit, the mag has to sit inside here, and has to be a little bit lower to let the bolt travel. It's going to be a little different than the other bolt. The other, the direct blowback bolt sits a little bit higher, so it avoids it. But the feet in the are going to cause, the feet here are going to hit it, so that's going to be an issue that you have to get the height right. So after you do that, the fourth thing you're going to do is you're going to shave that mag catch. That was the fourth thing. So that's this right here. That'll lower the magazine a little bit. The next thing is what you do is you cut the mag travel stop. What it is, the mag travel stop is going to be a little high naturally. You have to lower it. What that's going to be in detail is that'll make it so that you're not going to be able to hit it with your bolt, as well as control that height of it. After you're done with that, you're going to bend the BHO, which is this right here. You're going to bend it and reinstall it. And what you want to do is that it's naturally going to sit a little too high, and it's going to get hit by the bolt. You have to bend it in, and then you want to do that, and then you're going to put it together. If you did what MorningStarCornDog did, he took his this is the RDB bolt right here. He shaved these downs right here on the bolt itself, and what that did is that allowed it to clear it a little better. The way I have it, it is very precise, but you can do away without doing that. So that's the overview on how to do the whole entire process. Now I'm going to go into detail. So step one is just, this one's pretty easy. You're just going to remove the bolt catch. This is a T10, you know, counterclockwise, clockwise, pull it out. It's normally threaded. You pull this out, set it aside, and you're going to be doing it later. This is just an easy step one. Step two right here, this is we're going to have that cut out for the cam pin. The EPC doesn't have one. You can see right here, I added this cutout in here. If you look at MorningStarCornDog's, his procedure, he has a little bit more cut out than this one is. This one's not as much. You can actually see here, the silver, this is where actually the bolt hits. So when I cut this, I cut it a little too far aft. And so what I found the best way of doing this, to figure out where you need to cut, is you actually take your bolts with the, you take the bolt when you have your charging handle in there. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna slam it in there. So that way, you're gonna push it in there, and this is not modified yet. So you're going to push it in all the way, and then you're going to go until it hits. So you want to hit it in pretty hard. What that's going to do is that's going to rotate the cam, and then that cam's going to start marking your wall where it's making contact. So that's how you're going to figure out where to do it. You don't need to mark out exactly where it is, and it's just this iterative process. So you're going to mark that there, and you remember your barrel has to be installed already, and it's going to hit the wall, and initially it'll hit the wall right here. And then what you do is you're going to go through and then you're going to cut out that area. If you use a real Dremel, it likes to eat it a lot quicker. If you use these little cheapy, I use the Drill Master. This is your cheapy Harbor Freight version. It's not that powerful, so when it runs and you end up like, what it'll do is it'll basically shut itself off. Once it hits over current, it'll run, shut itself off, and then it'll start back up again because it's just over currents. It's just a little cheapy thing. And I used one of these. I used the grinding wheels on it that it came with. You got to be careful with the grinding wheels if you rotate them. Some of these are really poorly put on there. It's got really poor quality control. So when you put them on there, they're going to spin around and they could wobble around. And so what I did, and this is not telling you what to do, but what I did is I used one-handed. I used my left hand. That way I held it in the same position every time. That way when it pushes, because what it wants to do when it rotates, it's going to want to push in. It'll hold against it. So you hold it and you start carving out the area right here. You just see where it travels. You don't have to carve it. Like as you can see, this is angled in, and it's not a pure, like, you know, it's not a deep cut, like a straight cut out. And it's because you don't want to cut it out straight, because this wall right here, you don't need too much of it. But if you look at your cam pin, what ends up happening is it rotates, and not all of it. It doesn't need that much. It just needs that much. And it's not straight out, it's actually at an angle. So you're gonna have a curved cut out area. It's what you do is you keep going and you're gonna carve this out. And what does, you probably also want to put some masking tape around here, because otherwise you're gonna get the aluminum shavings everywhere. So you're gonna do that, and then eventually you're gonna cut it here. Eventually it'll start fitting in the bolt. You can do one of the gold no-go pins in there to go gauges, so you can see what it's doing. So you do that, and then eventually you'll carve it out enough that it'll seat in correctly, and it'll be properly, and it'll rotate enough in there. So that's what happens in this part of it. This part, the reason why I said to use this again too, this one, if you look at MorningStarCornDog, he used a really powerful one. And aluminum itself, it's got aluminum oxide, it's a really hard surface. What that ends up doing is ends up shearing off stuff. So you end up shearing off more. That's what, if you've ever done like aluminum welding or aluminum sanding, aluminum tends to shear away. If you're using a grinding wheel, it's such a weak amount that it just goes slowly, but you're not going to shear out as much and not do deep grooves. It'll take longer, but it's probably worth it. And remember, this thing would be gone out here by the time you're doing this. And also you want to tape this around here so you don't get the metal shavings everywhere. And we do that, clean it up, run the bolt in again, and then until eventually it'll seat in like that, and you're done with the first major portion of this. right here. So now this will actually work with it. And it's just like, here's a regular, this is a regular upper for an AR-15. And this is the same thing too. This one goes a little further in, but this one doesn't. The EPC 9s don't have the cutouts. So it's a similar thing. It has to go in there, fit like that. And this, it'll be fully, the bolt will be, or the carrier will be fully forward once it happens and once it's in there. So this, you see how much it has to cut out. It's not a whole lot. And you can see this one from doing the procedure, going in and banging this against the upper right here. I could see what area I needed to cut out. So made it really helpful in the process. I think it's not, if you look at Morningstar's thing, he measured out exactly, he cut it out exactly. I think this way you don't have to, you have to be as concise, and you can just go a little bit at a time. Also, don't cut out a whole lot, because you can't go back. So this ends step 2 right here. Step 3 is pretty easy, straightforward. You just pull off the two T10s right here, and you pull this out. This one's already done. I'm not going to pull it out. What it is, you need to put it out of the way, and that's all it is for that. You're just going to remove that, set it aside, similar to how you've done the bolt catch, and you're going to save it for later. So here's step 4, is you're going to pull this off. This requires, I used a 1.5 millimeter hex Allen wrench to pull it out, and this pulls out. Watch out, this could pop out on you. But what you're trying to do with this right here is this right here. I shaved it down a little bit. What it is that if you use the RDB, your magazine is going to sit a little high, and your bolt's going to catch it. I'm going to do this in probably in a couple different videos, and not a single take, because I'm going to have to reassemble this to show you what it does and what to look for. So you want to cut a little bit down, and you're moving this down a little bit. You can also change the angle slightly by how you cut this down. You want to have an optimal travel right here. The first thing you got to watch out for is that when you're traveling through here, pretend this is looking down through this, and then you have your bolt right here. So the bolt, what's going to hit, maybe it'd be better if I show it this way. What you're going to do is these things are going to come through, and this is actually, when CMMG made this, they designed it for the double stack. The double stack, their modification you put inside one of the PMags. So this right here, if you line this up perfectly, it'll actually go through, and it'll actually catch the right. It'll catch it right. So if it goes through here, it'll push through here and make it through. There's not a whole lot. So what you do is you want to make it so that it's low enough so that it'll go through and run this right here. And also when you're coming out here, when you have the last open right here, the casing is going to actually push it down on this and keep this from happening. So it'll look better, but this is essentially what you want to do, because naturally it's going to sit low like this and would hit like this. So what you want to do is you're going to lower that catch, or shave off that catch, so this lowers the magazine, and it'll clear this right here. I'm going to assemble it, look at the side angle so you can see what it looks like. This is the second part of step 4 right here, and what I did, I just reinstalled it right here. So this magazine, it sits a little bit lower. You would not have the bolt catch installed yet right here, or so, not the bolt catch, sorry, the mag stop. You wouldn't have it installed yet. So all you have is this. So it would push up. This would actually push up. The mag would push up because there's free play in there. And what you have to do is you have to actually install the upper, and you're going to look for the movement of the bolt. So I'll show you that next. But this won't be installed yet, and it'll be free right here. And so what you're going to do is you're going to go down when you cut it down. Something I forgot to tell you about: when you cut down the bolt, you want to cut down the one side and not the outside itself, but the little edge itself. You want to cut it down. So a good way to use that is a bastard file. And a bastard file, one of the edges is not going to have serrations on it. So this side right here, you can't really see it. This side has serrations, this side doesn't. This side has serrations, this side has serrations. So if you use this against there and you go down, so this is just on the inside, if this was this, but on the inside you're pushing down, the wall the side on the opposite side of this, you're not pushing against, but you're cutting on the ledge itself. So that way you're cutting the ledge without actually cutting into the lever itself. So that way that's what's nice about using one of these or another type of file has it. Just know the nitrated side. This actually, or the phosphate or nitrated, I don't. Looks like a phosphate to me, but I don't think it's not shiny like nitrate. But right here, this is going to be the harder part, so it'll go through. And once you do that, the aluminum is going to come off a lot easier. So just be careful. Don't go too far with it. Otherwise, this thing is going to be too far down, and then you have to replace it. You have to plate the bolts or the mag catch for it right there. So this right here, you're not going to have this, so this will be a lot more loose right there. What happens right here with the mag catch right here? When I saw, sorry, the mag stop in here, when I reinstalled it, it's a lot loose. It gets rid of a lot of the slop and it keeps it from moving up. But I'm going to show you the third part of step 4. This is where the critical spacing matters. So this is reassembled right here. This is kind of the critical spot. I don't know if you can see into it that well, but inside there, I have it low enough that my bolt, the feet of my bolt right here pass through. Probably got to go in and get some more light, but the bolt feet pass through. You can see the feed lips right there. The bolt actually passes through without touching it. And so I lowered it enough that this actually clears it right here. And so that's right there. When you're doing this though, because this can travel up and down, you want to make sure this is in the lowest position that you have. So this will travel up and down. You want it to be low because then you're going to hold that in position with step 5, which is the bolt catch. So you got that. You can do it by feel. If you screw this up, you got to buy another one of these. I don't know if Aero probably sells them, or you could probably contact Aero to get them replaced. But that's how this part right here goes for that. And then you do that. Another thing is that if you have the Magpul ones versus the OEMs, these feed lips actually, the feed lips, it's the Magpul on the right, they're actually a little higher than this once they feed it in there. This is something interesting that's this right here. You can see a little bit on this one. This one got gorged during my testing right here, a tiny bit. And that's before I realized, oh, this actually seats it. Like, you can get away with something thinner with the metal and have the same amount of support. But this one right here, this one sits a little higher. So when you design it, you might want to put it for one or the other. If you're always going to use OEMs, you don't have to go down as far. If you do it for Magpuls only, you're going to have to go down a little further because the Magpul feed lips are a little higher up, and so you don't want it to hit the bolt. So you do that portion of it, and then it'll get you to the next portion. And what the other thing to do is, if you get this and err on the side of caution. Don't remove too much of it, because you remove too much, you have to replace the mag catch or the mag release, and then the next step is, after this, you're going to go and you're going to replace the mag stop. And that's so you remember this. Remember, as I told you, when these are in, when you do the bolt clearance check, make sure these are pulled down all the way. You're not going to have that bolt stop, or not going to have the magazine stop to put you in there. So you got that portion, and I think if you did all this right, we are done with step 4, and we're going to go to step 5. Oh, this is the video. It just shows that it's got good clearance right here. It's not hitting it. The legs aren't hitting here. So going back and forth. This is the perfect height. It doesn't also hit the Magpul ones. So it's very, very fine, very small amount of tolerance within those allowed. Right here, you're gonna cut the mag stop right here. And what it is, you're gonna cut off the bottom layer of it after you remove it, and then you're gonna cut off this the notch right here. The part that catches it is actually thicker. You have to cover some of that out, because this is going to be there. This is going to block it. Some of it you're going to, because this sits a little lower, some of it you don't have to cut out, but the rest of it you do. And I'll put up a drawing real quick about approximately what the areas I have. I'll show the area of the cut out of what the amount of cut out of it. And you have to do it for, now this, when you have this in there, this is going to be pretty well in place. This is pretty tight because these are the larger mag lips right here on the Magpuls. So if I have the OEM in there, there's a little more slop in here after I was done. Also, when I install it, when I reinstalled it, I actually moved it over. I just have aluminum foil as a shim I'm going to replace it with some real shims in there. But the reason why I did it is that it's actually got more clearance in the bolt. There's a groove in the bolt. This slides right here a lot better than being over the original position all the way flush against that. So it ends up working better for me, and you didn't have to shave off the top right there too. So it's one of the things, you have to go slap it together, and you have to see if it fits. You have to go and, you know, go through, see what's hitting inside the bolt right there, if anything's hitting. And you know, the other thing too is the feed angle in here, and that's of course goes back to this feed angle. I had no problems. It would do all the snub nose and everything I've gone so far. And I've only shot about 60 rounds through it, but I fired probably about 8 or 9 147s, 140 grain heavy stuff. So those things cycled okay. The only one thing I had issue was with the frangible, and so this is that part of that step right there. So this is step 5 right here. I'm going to show you the picture of the area I approximately cut out, and also I shimmed it over to move it over to the left, so that way it sits in the carrier channel the most. So it's I don't have to cut off any more of the medium up on top here, and that way I have the strongest mag stop that I can have. So step 6, you can see it inside there. That's the bolt hold opener right there. That's reinstalled. Compared to the other original one, originally it bent up a little bit further, so the hook's a little higher. I bent it down, and so what that does is that allows now the BCG to clear that, number 1, but also 2 is that it would trigger a lot earlier on because you got the follower right there going through, and it would trigger a lot earlier. It still triggers this on it still pushes this on this right here when it has 1 left. So I thought it was kind of interesting. The floor is higher in this one than it is in the OEM, or the part of the floor that catches the bolt hold open. So I'm probably going to shave a little bit off that. I don't want to shave too much because then I lose the OEM. There's a possibility of losing the OEM's ability to bolt hold open. So that's that portion right there. I have the feeding right there. That's everything that I modified right here. If you see if you're asking about wondering why my Cerakote's destroyed there, that was from me being an idiot. When I was putting on the barrel, I wrapped it up and then I tried to pull off it, but I didn't secure it right. So that was my fault, and I ended up doing that. That's why it's on that side, and also on this side scratched as well as the rail. So you see a little salt, but you know, if you're going to use your gun, it's probably going to get banged up a lot more than that. So this is the last thing that I'm going to talk about right here, and that's what MorningStarCornDog did, what I didn't have to do, is on these feet right here, he shaved down these a little bit, and what that allowed him to do is allowed him to clear the bolt in there. And this one is still dirty from the test firing. I got to go clean it, but what that might allow to do, that might be, so I would do everything. I would save this for last, because this would be kind of like, well, I tried everything, it's everything, and you should be good if you do that a little bit. Don't do too much of it though, because this is what it uses to hold it in place. Be careful. Remember, you're responsible for the stuff yourself, and hopefully it's good. Alright YouTube, this is just demonstrating the use of CMMG roller delayed RDB 9mm and an EPC AR-9. This is a modification that originally MorningStar, I probably screwed up your name, sorry, but MorningStar, he put it on Reddit, and I had it with some modification, just showing you cycle between both 2 mags. This is a OEM, and this is one of the mag pulls. This right here, I took out the hammer just because I have my ammo and working inside the house. It's pointed in a safe-ish direction, so, but just remove the hammer from it. It's always hard to do this stuff one-handed. There we go. So, first loading. There it is. Ejected it. Second. And bolt hold open works. Let's see, this is intact. Second one, this is OEM. Fits in there. Interesting is the Magpul, the feed lips are a little higher than the OEM. So, all right, this is the first one loaded. in, and do second one. I'm probably gonna screw this up. All right, second, and done with that. Once I get a good range trip in here, I'm going to. And sorry, it looks like this thing flipped upside down. So sorry about that. Hopefully it's right side up, and if not, do a better video once I get this thing working. This is the OEM. I have one in there. Ready? Sorry, this is the OEM. This is the Magpul 27. It looks like, oh, interesting. So it catches the bolt hole open a little earlier when it bent it down. So I think I'm gonna have to take a little bit off that besides doing it down. So it's interesting. It kept the, if I push it down, yeah, so it catches the last one a little early. It looks like I'm hitting the edge of this too right there. This original scratch is from me screwing up something, but it is hitting the edge of the brass right there. Seems to be cycling okay though. Introduce some failures in here. I have some heavy, I got two 147s, Remingtons, followed by one 100 frangible. They're about as big as a Remington. It's pretty stub-nosed. And then it's followed by one Norma 124, and the rest are going to be Blazer 115s. Let's see how this does. So we got 147, 147, frangible 100. That one, yeah, that one did not cycle. Well, it's frangible, it's pretty light. All right. This is normal 124. I got 115. Yeah, not too bad for just falling on the rails. It looks like everything except the 100 frangible cycled. Here is fully loaded magazine OEM, and it's the 115 Blazer. I'm going to run this just a couple through here, see if it does. This should be with the hardest. It's the hardest for it to clear the magazine because it's got the most pressure on the string. So the spring's got the most pressure on the bullets. We'll see if this works. After that, I'm running low on daylight. It's a little darker than what this shows right here, but afterwards, I'm going to change out to the carbine on the H2 buffer and run the rest of the mag to see what it does. So I'll run a couple through here, hopefully. Let's see. Well, seems to be working well. I am going to change the buffer and get back with you. Carbine buffer in there now with 115. Kind of annoying with the enhanced Aero buffer tube. It's kind of a little more annoying to pull it out with one of those silent ones. I forgot the company makes it, but kind of a pain compared to regular buffer. Let's see if this cycles. Seems reliable. Seems to be banging the back a little more. So it is, the H2 might be a little wiser. Let's go for the angle over there to see it again. It's clearing everything though. So I'm just gonna finish whatever's here because I'm running out of daylight and go home. So this is with the carbine buffer and regular spring. Bolt hole open worked. All right, thank you.